Welcome to the Victory Multisport podcast. This is Coach Sarge, and I'm with Coach Kenny.
What's up, Coach Sarge?
I'm doing great, man. And our very special guest, Nick Zotis.
What's up,
What's up,
guys?
Nick?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right.
I'm excited to see you today.
I know.
Fresh off the Ironman course, Nicky.
Fresh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm still fresh.
You're getting recovered,
Yeah.
right, from Ironman.
Did you dry out yet?
Yeah, pretty much. My shoes did.
Yeah.
Bike shoes just did.
So just finished his second full Ironman at Ironman Maryland in this 2024. So congratulations on a second Ironman.
Thank you.
You get another tattoo.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Do we think we're going to get another one?
Another Ironman tattoo?
Yeah.
What do I do now? What do I get? I mean,
You can
I got
add to it. You can augment it. You can
Put a different design in
put
it.
something else
in
on
it.
it. Whatever. Yeah.
You could actually make a different one. You could do the swim, bike, run, swim bike, run, kayak.
Yeah.
Swim, bike, run, survive that flood you had to deal with.
I don't know if I want a bike on my leg, though. You know how I feel about the bike.
Yeah. He does not like it.
I don't.
Well, we're going to come back to all of this for you, Nick, when we break down your race. And but first, we wanted to, just set this up for the listeners on how we're going to go about this podcast. So we're going to talk to Nick. We're going to find out his background. We're going to hear his journey, into Ironman, which was a very unexpected tranche to take in his athletics.
It was a big pivot.
Yeah, it was. So we're going to talk more about that. But first, we want to thank some of our sponsors. Definitely Mike and Tony's is out there and always willing to help us, and mentioned them a lot on the last episode. So thank you, Justin and crew down at M&T. But also Trek Cycle here in Pittsburgh, especially Jen, the store manager, and Cranberry, who is a great partner of ours for all your bike needs, maintenance needs. Anybody looking for a new bike of any kind, gravel, road, mountain, or TT. So thanks, Jen and team at Cranberry Trek and really all the Pittsburgh Trek cycle centers. So Nick, we've been on this journey now for about a year and a half, I believe, right, with you, approximately, and really started off just saying, hey, Kenny, I know you coach, and I want to think about doing some kind of a run, right, Pittsburgh Marathon or
That's
something
right.
of that nature.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, your background on, were you an athlete in high school? How did you get to, this point in your life where you're like, hey, I need to do something different than just go to work and go home every day?
Yeah. I think growing up, I was never really the organized sports guy. I did the whole football, baseball, basketball thing is a formality, just because
Check them off the box.
Yeah, your friends do it.
And your parents put you through it to see if you like it.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I liked it. I probably did it till like 8th grade, but I was always that kid in left field throwing his glove up in the air.
Distracted.
ADD, distracted, not really into it, just wanted to get home and be outside. Like that was my thing.
Well, see,
And-
baseball would have killed you then because it's a slow-moving game.
Like to this day, I can't go. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope my daughter doesn't play softball because I don't know. I mean, it's different when it's your kid, but So, I mean that was my. I always liked being outside, doing something, moving. I was never the indoor kind of kid, but as far as sports, I guess I'm a little defiant, so I don't like to be told what to do unless I want to do it. Mm-hmm. But high school, 8th, 9th, 10th, I got into like shot put and track, 100 meter, and that I enjoyed. But then I kind of just fell off, and I used it more as of an avenue to hit the weights and be in the weight room. So that's what I did. But,
Even through college, you just lifted weights
yeah,
periodically?
Yeah, I was always into fitness.
Yeah.
Always into doing that kind of stuff on my own. So
but not really quite a musclehead as far as like prepping your meals and carrying
not
your backpack
not
all
really.
day and eating every 2 hours.
Yeah,
and
I didn't go that hardcore.
cutting and,
Yeah.
and gains and cuts and gains and cuts.
Right.
Right.
Tilapia at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
Sandwiches.
Okay.
For bed.
So not quite that hard, but
Correct.
just a fitness.
Yeah.
You've always had a good physique. I mean, honestly, ever since you came into my life, geez, maybe 15, 20 years back, you were always physically fit.
I always that was always part of my routine. Always been a morning guy, even in college, even in high school. McLean, who him and I would go to the gym at like 4:30 in the morning before school sometimes and just knock it out.
Just push,
Nice.
push it around.
Always been like that. But 2022, December, we were sitting around having a couple drinks with our friends, and I was like, I need a good goal for next year. I need to do something. Like, I need something to push myself, get uncomfortable. And my one buddy, Sean, was like, because he takes credit for, all of this journey. He's not a runner, but he goes, why don't you run the Pittsburgh Marathon in May? And I was like, there's really nothing that I hate more than running. Maybe that's a good idea.
So really stretch your boundaries.
Really stretch my boundaries. So I'm like, all right, so I sign up, and it's, the things that we do when we're warm and comfortable. And then the next day, you're like,
reality sets in.
You have one of those Kenny moments of the, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is funny because like even like Ben Hawley will say, whenever there's like a team gathering or a team camp or race weekend, he's like, I always know I'm going to sign up for something I'm going to regret like the next day.
Sure.
Because all the, the testosterone gets going, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, now I actually put the money where the mouth is.
Yeah.
And I got to show up and do this.
You got to do it. Yeah, and that was, I woke up the next day to start to get to work, and I was like, oh boy, what am I doing? So that's when I texted Kenny, and I remember I texted him. I was like, "Hey, dude, I need to rack your brain. I know what you've done."
I remember this very vividly. My memory is one of my really strong points. I don't forget anything, and you've known that.
I know.
You've known that for years.
I've been on the wrong end of that a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, this was like it was like a random 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It might even have been 6 o'clock ish, and I was driving to Quaker Valley to go watch Ian wrestle. And I got a text from you. Hey, I would like to talk to you. I need some like running idea. And that's when I was like, dude, come on, man, just get a coach, mm-hmm. Let them drive it for you. And, it was all just to be run, but like, it didn't surprise me. It was because some other guys that we know at ADP Dom and such, they would go out and do their marathons or do their half marathons. And Nick always was a very big athlete. So I'm like, okay, this isn't surprising to me. And he has, the capabilities to easily get a coach. So let's just get him in a program. And that's kind of when it all started. I mean, for me, it was just a random Wednesday or Thursday mm-hmm. night. I'm on my way to wrestling. Say's giving me crap. You're late. Get in here. I'm like, hold on. I'm finishing up with Nick.
And typical day for Kenny.
Oh yeah. It's a
typical day. But Nick, you said something very important. I think it's good for the listeners to, come back to. And that is, when you really, are comfortable, you need to stretch yourself, and the best way to do that is to have a goal that you can't get out of, or the date's not going to change. It's not going to slide on the calendar. Pittsburgh Marathon's going to go off one way or the other, mm-hmm. and you either have to decide to make it happen, however your style of making it happen is, run, walk it, kill it, PR it, qualify, podium, whatever your style is on the athletics are. But you're not moving the date. They're not changing that, right? And, after signing up, people that are that A-type personality, high performers at work, kind of been that way all their life, you're not going to do it. Correct. You're not going to just DNF it or try to sell your bib or whatever, not without a catastrophic like injury or something of that nature. So putting a goal in the future is almost necessity. You're never going to get anywhere without goals, and that's life, business, work, sports, whatever it is. I think it's really, really important. And, we're coming into this kind of time in the fall where people are kind of wrapping up a few things, and then they're like, I ought to get put on the shelf or I'm going to sit the bench, for a while. And we're like, that may not be the best idea. It's okay to take breaks and to have an ebb and flow to your season, right? Your year. But what's next year look like? Not for you. We're going to get to that, but we're asking all of our athletes today, what's next year going to look like? How are you feeling about it? Is there more that you think is out there for you? We kind of know the answers a little bit as coaches because we've been down these journeys ourselves. We've seen other athletes go down these journeys. So I think that's highly important to think about, launching that arrow out into the distance and see where it lands, and then work backwards from that so that you're all on the same page. Your coach, your team, yourself, your family, your spouse, whoever might be in your life that you have to bring along on these journeys.
Yeah. And everybody has a different trajectory and journey, and you never know where it's going to lead. And starting with the marathon, I remember the conversation too. And Kenny, he was so excited. He was like a kid on Christmas morning talking to me about all these things.
On a random Wednesday night in November, December. Yeah.
And then he's like, oh yeah, that's great. And then, you know what? Maybe after that, it's, do you want to qualify for Boston? Is it an ultra? We get you a bike. You want to go Ironman? And I'm like, whoa, bro.
Whoa.
Chill. I was like, I just want to run a marathon.
Yeah.
I don't even have a time goal. I just want to finish. And
well, I know his persona too, so that he feeds right into me. So that's the beautiful thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Kenny, he's got these lofty goals for me, which I appreciate because, I think you as a coach believe in your people when they don't believe in themselves yet.
Oh, unequivocally.
And, thinking back to that day, I'm like, all the things that I've done is crazy to fathom of, wow, I did do a couple Ironmans. I did do halves. I did get into the swim. I did get into the bike. And so it's just been an amazing journey for a year and a half going up too.
Yeah. And it's funny, two quick things there is, that getting comfortable, our old boss BT said it one time to me. I had like a really good quarter, and then the opening month was like a lull. And he said to me one day, he's like, Rocky IV. And I'm like, what? He's like, you're Rocky IV right now. He's already beat Clubber. He beat Apollo. He's got his championship belts. You got civilized. He goes, I want you to be Rocky 1, 2, and 3 again when you were a savage and you were taking a no answer. Like, and I'm going. And it was that part of like, you can go on the bench, but don't get too comfortable there because that's the scary thing. There's a reason you've run to this point. Don't get too comfortable sitting on the sidelines.
Yep.
Like for me, like I always like to sit in the off season and do like, hey, I'll train for a half marathon, easily could do a 2 or 3 mile swim, so it's not killing me, but like I want to have my foot in the water in case I want to go at any point in time. Yep. And then the other thing with Nick is, after he finished his marathon, like I went radio silence because I wanted him to think.
Sure. Absolutely.
And his thinking was, okay, now I'm ready for this. Cause I said to him, I go, dude, when you come into this arena, you got to buckle up.
That's right.
If done right, it'll break you forever in a positive way. It'll break your spirit. It'll break everything. And it almost resurrects you into something.
It does.
You shatter some ceilings there that you've put on yourself,
expecting.
Whether they were self-imposed or even other people. And unfortunately, family and friends that have not been on this type of a journey are naysayers. Frankly, you might have support from the spouse because they know you the best about what you kind of need as a person to kind of live.
Yeah.
But other people are like, why would you ever want to do that?
Yeah.
Why are you going to get hurt? Like they just like, why don't you stay safe?
Yeah.
And
why don't you do a
protected?
half?
Why don't you wrap yourself in a pillow so
Yeah.
if you fall down, you're not going to get injured?
Yep.
Like, no, I want to live. I want to be out on the edge. I want to feel the pain of training. I want to feel the burn of a race. And then I want to feel the elation of crossing the line and getting a medal, over my neck. So.
And that's what, I mean, so many people are like, well, why do you keep doing it? Like, why do you want to do this stuff? And it's hard to explain, but the best way to put it is when you do those hard things and you go through that journey and you see how it's affected all aspects of life, personally, your relationships, work. These are some of the best years I've ever had.
Yeah.
And to not credit that to the stuff that I'm doing and the hard things that you're doing is, that's why I do it. That's why I think all of us do it. Cause when you get to that point and you figure that out, that it's such a positive thing, that's it. It's not, oh yeah, because I enjoy running. I mean, I like running, but I don't enjoy biking, but I do it.
You kind of do. You're good at it though. That's the funny thing. He's good at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely he is. So
Yeah.
I think, Nick, it raises the intensity level. And when you raise the intensity level in a person's life, there's no way to like jar that into one silo. It's going to spill over to work. It's going to spill over to family because you're going to remain hyper focused on the other things in your life so that you get the time to train, whether that's you're getting up early to get your training in while they're still sleeping. So then when you do come home from work, your dad, your husband, your whatever, you don't have to go down and do a 3-hour treadmill or Zwift ride,
Correct.
You can actually focus on the family then. And they're like, wow, this is great. We thought this was going to be a detractor. It's actually an enhancer because it forces a more scheduling, more diligence, more, pinpoint accuracy in all the other aspects of life. So it's pretty cool that way. And I know that Kenny and I have been down this journey. We've seen it, and, our spouses have been like, well, you're better when you're training. You're better when you're racing. You're better when you're busy versus sitting sedentary.
Yep.
You drive me nuts. Get the hell out of the house. Like, go do something.
Yep. Anything.
But also,
the 50 mile looks good right now.
But also, we saw it back in our days as showing our kids that they could do anything.
Yeah.
Right. When they're 6, 7, 8, 9, now they're teens, 20s. They're in, college and things of that nature. About to go to college for Kenny's daughter, but now they're like, well, I can do anything. I saw my dad when he was just a dad do these amazing races or go to these places and, do all these things. So that's another aspect of this, the vision that you're projecting through your actions, not what you tell them, because they don't listen. Right. They listen, but they don't tell you they listen. Yep. But actions do speak louder than words in this case.
Leading by example, for sure.
Well, I think even in my very first Ironman, so that would have been 12 or 13, I was so scared of what is this going to do at work? And what I found out was I had the best year I ever had leading up to that point because it was compartmentalized. So like there were days when I didn't like to go to bed at Thursday night, sleeping in another room, waking up at 3:30 in the morning or 3 so that we could go out at 3:30 in the morning and run 20 miles on the most god awful roads with trash trucks, like dodging them, running up 228 when we probably shouldn't have at 6 in the morning, gust of wind, just to get back by 8 o'clock so we can see our kids off at the bus. Yeah. And then you shower up and you get ready, and then you're an employee until 4:30 or 5. And then you do something again and you're a dad.
Yep.
And that laser focused just spilled out in so many different areas. That's why, I think there is such an attraction when they find it to get into this sport and what it all leads into.
Absolutely.
It just spreads like a rash, like a bad one, all over the place. And you're looked at differently. I said after you did your first marathon, and you even said it, all your friends were looking at you like, wow, you accomplished that. What's next? It's that what's next. And it's not like it is a what's next now. Like, okay, do I want to go swim Mackinac Island, 50 degrees or 60 degree water? I kind of do. What about Charleston? I kind of do. And it's that next feat of tasting something better than what you did, and not being afraid if there's a failure or if you have a bad training day. It all means something. It's all something. And it usually leads to positivity.
That was my exact experience too. Like, you're afraid, like, oh my gosh, what's this going to do to work? What's this going to do with my relationships? But once you get in it and you experience it, man, it's special.
Yeah, because I honestly think that it changes you in a way you needed to be changed. And there's a spirituality of it. There's a personal, up close and personal. I can't explain sometimes on a 5-hour bike ride when I'm on my trainer and I start at 4 a.m. so I could be at work by 9. Why I'm crying on the bike. I'm not in pain. Am I thinking about my mom, or I'm thinking about something in Victory? I'm thinking about somebody's going to go through this. It's that hurt locker that's invite only. And you're privileged to have that invite. You can't explain it.
And I know Kenny told me that the one time. He's like, yeah, I'm just on the bike, and all of a sudden he's like, you'll experience this one day, but I just started crying, and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen to me. And now it happens all the time. Like, even when you're on a 20-mile run, you're by yourself, you're in the woods, it's just you, your thoughts. You have a little bit of music going on, and it's great because it truly is like your therapy.
It's release.
Well, you're getting it. I was talking to a relative of mine this weekend, and he's more into yoga. He's a yoga instructor, and he's been on these excursions and these outings in other countries where it's total silence for 10 days. You cannot say anything.
Wow.
You can't read. You can't write. You're just with you. And it talks about stripping away everything down to just being you. And I think the 5-hour bike on a Zwift or a 20+ mile run when you're alone and it's dark still, those strip you down to, core, visceral, getting down to the emotional level. And that's when all these other stuff comes out. But it also is somewhat of a release so that you're dealing with it and it's coming out, and that's quite okay.
Yep.
And now you're back to, being a better person in that moment and then beyond. So it happens, and it that's the point of that high stress. We're using physical athletics to do it. The yoga guys did silence.
Yep.
So there's different ways to challenge yourself in that way, but it was, it's pretty, raw when you get down to those things. And that's exactly what it is. You're exposing those nerves, and they're biting back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, I think the part of the long swims. I mean, these 10,000, 20,000 yard rips,
100%.
I can't talk. I am
face down in the water. You can't talk.
Yep.
You have to have a good inventory of what's going on in your mind.
Oh yeah.
And in your heart. And and that I think is the kind of the really cool thing is you were so successful even before you made that phone call leading up. If you would have just coasted through I think Spence Pinion said it best, his trajectory in life. I mean, he owns his own practice. Mm-hmm. It was just that downhill trajectory. Yeah. Nothing was bad. Marriage is great. Kids are great. Has his own business, but he wasn't living.
Correct.
You're living, and I just watched it and I loved it. And Braveheart, I just watched it the other night. I don't know why, 3 hours I'm watching it. And he says at the end, when the lady said, take this stuff to numb you.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I need to have my full wits about me. And she says, you're going to die. He says, every man dies, not every man lives. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things when you come across that line of safety, comfort, and now you're just living, man. You're taking every opportunity God's giving you, and you're saying, yes, I want that, and give me more.
Yep.
And you're leading from that pack now. And people are looking at you different. That Nick Zotis, who was very successful, is not the Nick Zotis today. Not even close. Can't even be measured in the same.
That's right.
In the same vein.
That's right. What's it like your first time, whether it's a half or a full, it doesn't really matter, when you're standing there with a wetsuit on and you're about to jump in that washing machine with all your buds, right? All your close friends that you've never met are going to be in there grinding with you. I think that's one of the points in time, especially with those that are doing Ironman or triathlon, realize shit's about to get real.
Yeah,
right?
It is. And because I did Mighty Moraine and I did North Carolina leading up to Panama.
Yeah.
And those were fine because there wasn't really expectations, because that was more of like a training thing for me and before the big show. But I remember Panama being scared shitless. Honestly, being there, just, you got the emotions of the swim and everybody getting started in the national anthem. And then you start kind of shaking, you get the jitters and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the water for, an hour and a half or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to get kicked in the face. Somebody going to swim over you. There's a jellyfish going to sting your neck. You're going to get a cramp.
And
that's have to stop.
That's an intense swim too.
Yeah. Yeah. Out around a pier. So
yeah, and I'm not kidding you. So we were there with Bobby and Kim, and I'm on Bobby's balcony, and Kim's in the water before she's ever raced. She's just swimming, and there's a massive manatee moving right alongside of her. Yeah. And I was taking videos of it. I when she came up, I'm like, there's either a really large piece of bubble gum in the water or it was a manatee. And she's like, oh my God, if I would have known that, I would have been petrified.
Freaked out.
But I've swam that thing multiple times.
Yeah.
We've had the fortunates of being there 3 or 4 times with athletes, and it's intense, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely intense. I mean, open water's no joke, and especially open ocean, but yeah, that was an experience. But then once you get in and you kind of get your wits about you, it's, you get into your groove, and then it's worrying about the next thing, the bike, flat tire, crash. And I remember just being that first go, being so scared until I was at mile 70 of the bike. And then I got really pissed off, and I was like, why would I ever let something get to me like that, make me afraid, get to my emotions? I'm having a time. Turn that off, turn that fear off. And then from that point on, I went after it. Of course, I went through every other emotion between those two, but yeah, it's, you can't let that overcome you.
See, that surprises me.
Turn that fear off. I think we just named this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, see, that surprises me because if you know Nick's one of the goofiest guys I know, like legitimately. And for me to say that, like that,
it takes a lot.
Yeah. And like, so your mindset and mentality, it always appears to me that nothing ever realistically bothers you.
Yeah.
But like you'll see some of his videos, some like serious side, like, you know, he'll come running up off the bike and you'll see your family and you'll do your thing. And then you'll hear at the end of the video, so what's my time? What do I need to get for this? You know, so he flips that switch a little bit. So jumping ahead though, you finished the marathon. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what Nick's claim to fame always. It wasn't a 4:01. It wasn't a 4:30. It was a 4-hour flat. Like it was 4 even.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you kidding me? Like 4. Like it couldn't have been 3:59:59. Couldn't have been 4 hours and 1 second. It was like a flat 4. And again, to his credit, he just smiled. He's like, come on, really? Realistically, which was a fantastic time.
Sounds made up.
Yeah. It does. Like
sounds arbitrary.
Perfect
like somebody
landing.
just put a 4 on there.
Yeah.
But like he goes through his training, you know, and lands a very aggressive time. And for really picking that up in say January-ish is when you really got started with Coach Lauren, and to deliver a 4, that shows your athleticism without really having any running leading up to that. So you come out of that Pittsburgh. What were your thoughts in that race? Like as you were going through there, because that was your first ever massive race.
Really, Coach Lauren in my mind, just talking about pacing, because I knew like, okay, my goal was to finish. And then I had a sub 4-hour goal like that, because, you know, you don't know what you don't know until you start doing it, until you start practicing and you're like, okay, like, you know, I could do this. So the pacing, the keeping it comfortable, focusing on, you know, my gels and eating and my hydration, that was it. Like that was all I was focused on. It was super emotional race, being your first marathon, like
family there,
everybody's there. Was awesome. At that point I was running with headphones that were connected to my watch. And so I was like getting these text messages from people. So it was like, really, it was cool. I was getting all these like motivation, keep going. Hey, here's your
great.
race. So it was awesome. And then, you know, I don't do that anymore because I don't like to be bothered. But for my first marathon, that was incredible. So I feel like I had so many people with me that whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You take the race on and that's when you start to realize it becomes so much bigger than what what once was a joke to, I think I'll do something uncomfortable. I'll do that. Turns into, wow, that's really uncommon what he's doing. And then when you start to look back at the numbers of people that actually get into a triathlon or actually get into an Ironman to finish one, and then you start looking at that, it's like, holy smokes. And then, you know, the average of we're about to do the Bermuda Marathon. It'll be heavy half marathoners, and then a handful that'll toe the line for the full. It's a different animal. You know, it really, really is.
It is.
So you came off of that, and that's where we went quiet for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And that's literally, this is so Nick or Constantine, whatever his real handle is, Constantine. And so like, I think by Thursday it was, okay, we need to figure out what's next. I had a lot of people asking me what's next. I'm thinking about what's next. What's this triathlon? So we start talking about it. I'm like, well, do you have a bike? No, I need to get a bike. So that was like Wednesday. Friday, I get a text. Hey, I went to Ohio, already bought it. Or where'd you go to get your bike?
Yeah, Ohio. Well, Sarge went on Facebook Marketplace, found all these bikes. I found this guy. Yeah, he was in Ohio. And I was like, can you meet me halfway? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. So I met him.
It's great.
I didn't know what I was looking for. I could have bought something that didn't even work.
No,
I had no idea.
Sarge was involved. It was good, right?
Sarge handles that stuff.
Yeah, we get people, we find people the right bikes.
Yeah.
It's all good. No, you know, we've been doing that for years now, and it's awesome.
No, and I appreciate it because you took a lot of stress off my plate, because that was the biggest thing. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what to look for. I don't even know what. So yeah, I met him, got the bike, and started riding.
Yeah, and
no bike, no shoes, no cleats, no pedals.
Doesn't even know how to get
suit,
clipped in.
No helmet.
Literally nothing.
Right. No race belt. No whatever. You needed it all.
I needed everything.
Doesn't even know how to get clipped in.
Had to go to PNC and like get a second mortgage.
Nikki, hey, did you really want me to do this?
I remember the first time I clipped in, I rode up my street, and we live on a hill, like our neighborhood goes up. I almost dumped it. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, this thing, tri bike this is a different world.
Oh yeah.
It moves.
Yeah.
Like the wind is coming and I'm going 5 miles an hour.
It's like riding on the edge of a razor blade,
yeah.
right?
Oh my God. So that took a while to get used to.
Did you ride up the hill for the first time?
Yeah.
That's
that was
the worst
thing I did.
because if you can't get going
And you're in the wrong gear.
Fall.
Yeah.
I was like, move. I'm pulling into the driveway. Move. Get the dogs out of the way. Move.
Oh, I'm telling you, the very first time I dumped it. So I'm the first one. I get my felt brand new. It was beautiful, black, fluorescent green. I had race wheels on it for whatever reason. I'm not sure. And I'm going around our cul-de-sac. Okay. And like everybody back in the day, everybody's kids used to play and all the kids were at the same age. So the moms and dads are standing there watching their kids play. And I come flying around and I'm thinking like, oh man, I look good. I know I do. And I pull into my driveway and I unclip properly with my left. Okay. And I lean to the right and I can't get my right out fast enough. And I just right over in front of everybody. My whole that humility set in of like, okay, just as good as you thought you were, you're not. It was like I was like a turtle. I had the bike connected to me. Yep. I'm stuck on the ground trying to get out. He's like, "You all right, mate?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right."
Yeah, we should do more of this. I'm like, no, we shouldn't.
Oh, he just saw it go down.
Yeah, it was all good.
But
we've all been there.
I think that's kind of the cool thing. That was the start of it. Is you realized there is something else out there.
Yep.
And without even doing a triathlon, he went and I'm going to do this.
Yep.
I'm going to do this. And so then I think it had to be maybe, so that would have been May. So I think we swam at the Richland Swim Club shortly thereafter, maybe early part of June. And Jasbo gets in the water and he's throwing down like 130, 200s.
Yeah.
And like, I had no clue that you were even a swimmer. And there's that. I didn't really take organized sports very well. He just gets in, and he's got they're not like swim trunks. I think you had tights on, just gets his goggles and takes off. And he's touching my feet. And I'm like, what is going on here? Does he have fins on him? And then I realized he's a pretty darn good swimmer. So then that's what got my head okay, we got a swimmer.
This is on.
We got a 4-hour marathoner. Mm-hmm. What's this bike going to look like? Mm-hmm. And so I think we came back then. You were starting to feel like, okay, I could be good at this.
Yeah. That's when it kind of lit. And going back to the marathon and, those 4 short months of training, 5 months, whatever. And yet kind of seeing those effects in my life, that's, what made me say, okay, what's next? And for, end of May, we were in Florida and we came home, found out we were pregnant. And what's special about it is it took us a while to get pregnant. It really did. And our next step was, hey, let's go schedule a doctor's appointment, figure out what's going on, because it's been a couple of years. And so for me to be obviously it wasn't a marathon, but it was like, wow. I just kind of changed my whole life, my whole lifestyle, everything. And then shortly after that first marathon, and it was incredible.
Whether it's karma, whether it's just clean living or whatever, things are starting to fall into place.
Really click.
100%.
So I'm like, wow, that happened. What's next? And that was my biggest fire was, all right, let's go to triathlon world.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And I think that was really an interesting, that's a special phone call to get as a coach.
Sure.
It's just, I don't know what it is, but I feel like what's happening in my life now is all lining up. Mm-hmm. I have a baby on deck. And we've been trying for this. And then this marathon finishes. And now I'm getting into this. And now my family's aligning. It was an awesome, awesome thing.
Yep.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's just, I think everyone that's been on this journey like yours, no matter what path or how fast they took it, has these types of moments as they come through on their life, and it's amazing. So it's great for you to share that with us and talk more about it. But what's with this bike, Nick? What's your love-hate relationship with the bike? Right?
Yeah.
As we talk more, now you're into the triathlon. you went to Florida and you've done that and you're moving right along. But
Yeah.
you're still not in love with it.
Because it's not that he's like 12 miles an hour, 12, 13 miles an hour.
No, not
he's
at
like
all.
18, 19, 20 miles per hour.
Yeah. I think it's just the time that it takes to be on a bike to ride, to rock out a century ride.
Yep.
Versus a 20-mile run could be 3 hours, a little less than 3 hours, and you're done. So to be on a bike 5-6 hours, that was my love. That was my hate of it. And being on a tri bike, it's not like I was out on crushed limestone, kind of, doing trails. Mm-hmm. It was, hey, there's really only a couple places I could ride. One of them being the McDonald Trail that goes from McDonald to Weirton, and having to do that, however many laps to hit 100.
Got it.
Down, back, down half and back. And so you're like, oh, this is monotonous. Like I can't, I'm going to lose my mind. Mm-hmm. And, at that point, I didn't really know anybody either, as far as like to ride with. So it was, it was all solo. And then trying to get, a 20-mile or 30-mile ride during the week, I went down to South Park and had to do,
all those
laps.
Loops of hills.
Yeah,
Right.
loops and hills. And I'm like,
all right. Well, that makes more sense then.
Yeah.
So it's the training volume.
yes,
You're
the
a
time
solo
on the bike.
rider most of the time, if not all the time.
Yep.
There's not many people near you.
Yep.
Your best bud that's now doing this, McLean, he lives in North Carolina,
Yep.
so he's no help on a bike ride, right?
Yep.
He's another
He's
meathead,
doing his
right?
own thing, right? He's hating his solo rides down in North Click, right? So,
But he's the
understood.
opposite. He hates the run, loves the bike. And I'm like, dude.
He's a hammer.
Yeah.
Well, but and so I get to coach both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick's kind of a hybrid. So I've always kept Lauren with his run.
Right.
And McLean's going to go there as well because they're going to do that 50-mile run, and I'll oversee his bike and swim and stuff. And but I remember the very first North Carolina. So really quick before we go in there. So Nick's A race was supposed to be North Carolina in year one. Mm-hmm. That was supposed to be what we were planning for. And we get through Mighty Moraine, no issues. And we're all on board for North Carolina. What changed in North Carolina? So you had dropped something. North Carolina became a B race.
Correct.
What prompted that? And you had already dropped it.
Yep. That was us getting pregnant, Nikki being pregnant. And it was funny because it was that time, it was that awkward time where like, you don't tell anybody yet, but it's like, okay, we're almost there to tell people and break the news.
Right.
So I remember I was like, hey, Kenny, I got a question for you. Like, what do you think about me doing a full Ironman this year? He's like, oh no, man, you're on a great trajectory. Let's do this. Let's do North Carolina. And then next year you pick your A race, you pick your 140.
And he's a sales guy, by the way.
Yeah. He's like, then you could pick a good destination, take your family. It'll be a fun trip. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. So he doesn't think this is a good idea. So a couple of weeks later, I'm like, I'm going to try it again. Like, hey, Kenny, what do you think about me doing Florida or Arizona and this year? And he goes, I really think that you should just stick to North Carolina.
We're learning how to race.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He's learning how to race.
I was like, all right, well, here's the case. We're going to have a baby.
You had to come clean. You had to come
we're-
clean, right?
So I said, okay, we're going to have a baby. So North Carolina is going to be a B race, Panama City or Arizona.
Yeah. And at first you were like, well, maybe just, drop out of North Carolina because it's only 2 weeks before Panama. And I was like, well, I can't because McLean signed up. Mm-hmm. I want to do this race with him. I'm not going to bail. I'm going to do it. And he's like, all right, well, just, and McLean at that time wasn't really training for anything. So for me, it was more like, hey, I'm just going to go.
I think he just showed up and raced.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
He's
Relatively.
Like, he rolled
Yeah.
straight in and just did it.
Yeah, he did some, biking, some swimming, which was, I'll let him tell you one day, but it was horrible. And then his runs. But so I was just hanging with him. I was great, like physically, and I got a drafting penalty because I was following him. That pissed me off.
He actually has two. He has
He's
two
the most
penalties.
penalized athlete in victory. Actually, the second most penalized.
Meanwhile, I don't even know how to ride a bike, and I'm getting penalties.
Kenny's
for
the
drafting.
first most penalized athlete.
I do have a couple under my belt. I got caught peeing. I got caught drafting.
Yeah, like I get off the bike and I'm peeing on the side of the road and I'm like, I'm going to get a penalty for this. No, I didn't. I get a penalty for not, passing somebody within 20 seconds.
Right.
It's like
30. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Okay, so we're aiming for North Carolina. This is my first interactions with McLean. Okay, so Clean. And by the way, his Instagram handle is the best. Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean.
The greatest. So Clean is their buddies. And what you know about Clean is I could say to him, man, I think I have a plantar wart on my toe. And he'll go, yeah, I think I do too now. He's one of those guys, like, I think I have a knee issue. I do too. Like, so if you get him going about anything, so two things with these two is, first off, North Carolina, he's like, what do you think I should go in? We're talking about his swim start. I'm like, go in about 30 to 35 minutes, 35 to 30, now whatever it is. He goes, is the water temps going to be cold? I'm like, yeah. I mean, we did it in Maryland, and I said some people wore 2 swim caps, no big deal. He goes, oh, I'm going to give McLean. So I don't realize it. He's like, I'm going to have him order one of those chin strap ones,
The thermal
with the chin strap. Okay, and he sent him the one with the flowers on the head, and he's like, I'm going to tell him Coach Kenny's having me do it, so I'm going to get him to do it. So sure enough, I'm talking to Nick and McLean on race the day before. McLean's like, I don't understand why you want me in this hat, Coach. And I'm like, I don't know that. What are we talking about? He's like, I don't know. Nick made me buy this. I bought it. It's $20, and it was the hat. Yeah,
I said it would shave 10 seconds off your 100.
Shave 10 seconds off your 100.
Oh, so now we're talking. This is Penn State the following year. They're both racing it, and now I'm fully coaching McLean. Mm-hmm. I have like a 10 to 15 minute phone call with McLean about amoeba eating brain eating amoebas.
I know. They all went there.
That was it.
Yeah. But now I'm dealing with 20 minutes of my life talking to McLean. Hey man, if it happens, just keep swimming. It's not a big deal. I've been in that water. But like he gets in, it's unbelievable.
Gets in his head. Start rearranging the furniture in his kitchen.
He wakes up the next morning. He's like, hey, I'm still here. I don't have a headache. I was like, yeah, you're good then.
Oh yeah. So we're prepping now for North Carolina. We're fully engaged in it. And the plan was lay up in that race, get through the swim.
Good training day, but not too high pressure, knowing you got a bigger race 2 weeks from now.
So his goal was literally to bring McLean through and not kill himself. And I think you guys both came in at like 6 flat or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they had a great day for McLean's
absolutely.
first. For his, that was like a long day. And 2 weeks later, he's doing 140.6. So, I mean, it worked out perfect. And the one thing I think I always admired about his training was it's never perfect, meaning it's always green. But there's a lot of ebb and flow. And I think he said it earlier, like, I'm not a guy that likes to be told what to do. Like, I'll do it, but like sometimes I may need to do this. And like, as we start looking at, as your life was changing, like you hammered Panama City as best as you could, but Ironman Maryland was completely different.
Yep.
Completely different. And it just makes you understand that you don't sometimes have to hit the home run to touch all 4 bases. Mm-hmm. You could hit a double with 2 airs and score. You could, like, there's ways. And he ended up PRing his Maryland by almost an hour. Mm-hmm. And it looked way different than
absolutely
a prototypical plan.
I mean, I think we have so many athletes that get so focused on green, which is great to hit the workouts, but life getting in the way, other things happening, having the coach really create a flexible plan so that you can still get trained up as you move through the progressions and the training blocks to get to your A race. But it does not have to be so restrictive and so strict that if you miss a workout, that it blows the whole plan. And that's the point of the coach. Yeah. Really protecting the workouts that are most important in a week where you can't do all of them because of travel, because of family, because illness, whatever, injury. It can 100% work. Yep. There's ways to get around almost every situation and still get you to the finish line, to the start line healthy enough and to the finish line in a reasonable amount of time for every single race.
What did your parents think of this change?
Well, yeah, it's been great because every race that I've done, minus, the fulls, I brought them along with me. You know, my parents, my sister, obviously Nikki McLean was at my first full. You know, it's fun. You get an Airbnb, kind of go away, travel, cool destination, family time. So I think they like the time together for sure. But, you know, at first my mom's like, what, you know, people, your body's not made to do this. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's a mother's worry.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Right. Sure.
So, but you know, once I did my first full, yeah, I it's a good question, but you know, I think that, they enjoy the time together for sure.
Yeah.
In doing all of this and, doing some cool stuff. And,
what's your dad's thoughts on it?
Actually, my dad bought a bike in the summer, and he was riding it. It fell off a little bit, but him and I went on like a 12-mile run, and he was behind me on the bike, so that was cool.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
It was, but I'm like, you got to do more of it. Like let's go. It's just you know,
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Did they get a little intense? Like the morning of, do you sense a shift in them?
Yeah, totally.
In preparation for what's about to happen?
It's like hugs and kisses goodbye before I go. And I'm like, wait, I'm not dying, am I?
You're going to war.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, some of those races, I have to admit, I mean, in Tampa, you know, I guess as we get older, you know, you start thinking about, you know, what if?
Yep.
And like I grabbed Sayan and we were, you know, right before I was getting in the water, and I said, you know, my cell phone passwords, every password that for anything, banking, stock, it's all in my phone.
Yeah.
In case something were to happen. And she's like, is something going to happen? Like, and I'm like, I don't think, but I mean, I hope not. But
right.
Like, it's that, you know, my mom saw me do my first one. My dad has never seen one. Okay. And, you know, probably doesn't really know what an Ironman is.
Yeah.
You know, I think he knows I do swim and bike and run.
Yeah.
But I think if you asked him what it is, he might not know the distances.
Yeah.
And that saddens me a little bit. But like watching like Matty Ice, you know, his parents are like,
wild.
Yeah. Oh, they go wild. It's like, where are we going next?
Yeah.
It's not what's Nick doing. It's Team Zotis.
Yeah. Sure.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, where are we at?
That, and I think the proud factor, like I know they tell everybody, I'm like, Mom,
sure.
chill. I mean, you know, your kid does something. So I get it. I'll see people who are like, hey, you know, I heard you're doing this triathlon thing. Wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, how many people are they telling?
Yeah. Everybody.
So yeah,
everybody for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So talk about Panama City that day.
Yeah.
So we know how the swim was, and
yeah, the swim was like I said on the bike, you know, 70 miles into the bike is when I kind of flipped that switch and, you know, got on the angry factor that, you know, I'm like, heck, just start pushing. So get on the bike. There was, you know, a wild headwind for the majority of it. And then, I just remember I'm like, oh God, I just want to get to the run. Just get to the run. Please.
And isn't that a unique feeling?
Super. Yeah.
Like it's
can't
about
wait to get off the bike.
I can't wait to get off the bike. I can't wait to go run a marathon.
Yeah.
It's a wild thought.
It's a wild thought.
But that's what I wanted.
Until you're like 9 miles in and you're like, shoot, now I have another 17 to go.
I think my first 7, it was like an 8 minute, 15 second pace. I didn't know anything at that point.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing a great time. And then I hit mile 13. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm going to puke. Like,
yeah.
I don't even want any nutrition. I don't even want my special needs bag. Like, I don't want anything. Like, don't talk to me.
Stuff was shutting down a little bit.
Yeah. McLean was with me. He ended up running with me, which was great. Mental motivator. But, yeah, it was, you don't.
So now the race really begins.
The race really, really began. Yeah. It was, going back to Maryland and saying, okay, just pace yourself. Because when you go through a marathon, everybody wants to just go.
Yeah.
Go as fast as they can, go. And then you just have to be smart enough in the back of your mind to say, like, they're going to fall back. They're going to fall. They might be in front of me, but I will outlast them because I'm smarter. I'm not, but I know my
racing
pacing.
Smarter.
Yes. I'm racing smarter. I know my pacing. And I know people are flying past me on the bike, but you know what? I know the run. I'm going to catch up. They might be a mile or two in front of me, but I'm not going to stop. Like I'm not going to walk. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to pass them. So like that's what kept me sane in Maryland. Cause I'm going 18, 19 miles an hour on the bike. People are just flying past me. I'm like, how are they going past me? It's like, well, that's what they do. They're bikers. That's all they do.
Right.
They don't run.
They blast it.
Yeah. So, but that was.
And it is fun because I think Bao said it one time, and it really hit home to me. We were in Panama City, and we were watching people torment the bike. And then all of a sudden, in fact, Mary Reed had it in her last Ironman. So Mary was in second place to this lady by, I don't know, almost 2 miles. Mary caught her by mile 11 and never looked back.
Yeah.
Because that lady was 24 miles per hour on the bike. And then was all of a sudden by like mile 8 was 14-minute miles, 15-minute miles. Mary was 9.
Starting to walk.
Mary was 9.
Yep.
Mary was 10. Mary was 9.
Yep.
And just mowed it down. And it was that thing I'll always remember Scott saying at one point, you make a mistake early in the race, it could be hours added onto your race because of that 13 or 14 minute times 26 miles of a 10-minute pace that you're able to hold, or a 9-minute. But you always look so smooth when you're running, like very light on your feet, very comfortable, smiling, even though you may be hurting.
Yeah.
But you never show anything more than I'm in control.
Yeah.
I know what's happening.
Never let them know.
Never let them know. Never let them know.
That's a Coach Lauren thing. She's like, when you ride by, when you run past somebody,
never let them know.
Never let them know.
That's right.
Lauren's she's a closeted assassin.
She's a savage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's like, hey, I know you're racing with your friends in Maryland, but on Saturday they're not your friends. And I was like, wow, I love this angry Lauren.
I love it.
Coach Lauren's ready to sweep their leg.
That's a new hashtag for us. Coach Lauren runs angry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mad at the pavement.
She's like, eye people down when you're passing them. Make them feel that they can't finish this
real
race.
uncomfortable
like,
look.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
The intimidator of road races.
Yeah.
Right.
So you came out of Panama City. So you finished your first one.
Yep.
And were you like any thoughts of like, man, that's it on that? Or did you fall in love kind of with?
I definitely was like, hey, who wants to buy this bike?
I don't know that you were you? Maybe you
thought of it.
So it was hunting season. I'm a big archery hunter. So like, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to go get in the woods. Like that was like, honestly, my number one thought was I can't wait to go hunt. I missed pretty much all of October. I still have a little bit of November left. Great.
You're thinking about this during the race?
I'm thinking about this during the race. Yeah.
Did you even think like, cause I get this way, I'm not a hunter by no means, but did you ever think, damn it, like, why did I sign up for this? Why did I pay $700 for this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and then you finish and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it again.
Sign up again.
Yeah.
That was that period from, early November to mid-December that I remember I started craving long runs, and I was like, oh man. So I would go out and do like a 10 or 15 mile just to get out, because I started craving them, and I was like, okay. And then I'd be sitting on the couch, and when you're sitting and you're used to doing 2-a-days and moving nonstop, you just start thinking about life, and you're thinking about just different shit that you don't want to think about.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I need to do something. All right, I'm gonna start marathon training again. I want to do it in 3:30, 3:40. So I'm going to focus on that. And then, McLean was like, hey, I'm going to do Maryland. I was like, cool, you do you. Like, I'll be there for you, supporting you. And,
your goal again was Penn State.
I'm going to do a 40.3 or a 70.3. Like I'll do a couple halves and focus on the marathon. And then, after the marathon, he's like, listen, you're going to go to Maryland. You're going to have the biggest FOMO, because you're going to want to race. You're going to get there and you're going to be like, oh my God, why didn't I race?
Mm-hmm.
And
that was another phone call I received.
In the interim, our other buddy, Timmy, signs up for the race. And Timmy's got 3 kids. And I'm like, oh shit, well, if Timmy can do it, I can definitely do it. I know I have a baby now, and I wanted to fit in this full. So I had to go sell Nikki.
So how old was when after you did Panama City, was she born?
She was born in January.
January
26th.
January 26th. Okay.
Yeah.
So now life has changed. And
Sure.
that was an athlete coach conversation again,
Mm-hmm.
is he's calling me and I'm hearing it from like 3 different people. Nick's going to Maryland, McLean,
Yep.
Lauren.
I think Nick's going to Maryland.
I think Nick's going to Maryland. He keeps having me prime these long runs, doing them in the afternoon when it's hot. I'm like, what's going on? So now, and I find out it's like your relationship with Dane. He signs up with and he's like, shh, don't tell Kenny.
Don't tell the coach.
Yeah. Because now we find out you're doing a 50-mile run because Sarge got your paperwork.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It was funny. I type in Coach Sarge pops up. I think it's Coach Lauren.
Schaefer Sarge.
And I see this text from Sarge. I'm like, what the hell's he texting me about? And he goes, right on, man, let's go. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh, just let the cat out of the bag.
That might have been like,
don't tell Kenny.
Yeah,
don't tell Kenny.
That might have been Saturday, and Sunday it got announced on the podcast. Zotis is doing a 50-mile run.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the fun part was, again, now we're trying to help plan. We know Penn State's there, and we already know, like, hey, we just need to be a little bit, training is going to be different. And I think the one thing I wanted to circle back, because I was starting to go there, his training's always been so admirable to me, because he gets up. Sometimes he's like, hey, I'm a 4 a.m. guy. So I could do my bikes, 30 miles easy. Mm-hmm. I could swim on this day. Like, he was always done before 8 o'clock. There was very rarely an evening workout that he might have been doing, unless there was 2 a days. And, so we really like that. And with Penn State now, we were aiming, and that was usually for him. He's so athletic. It's not much of a managing a baby and managing a 1.5 hour run. A lot of times you just get up, she's sleeping,
go.
You run and you're back, and she doesn't even know you're gone. 2 hour bike, kind of the same. Mm-hmm. But now I get the phone call, hey, I think I want to do Maryland. Can we make it work? And I think the thing to me, I said to you, I go, I'm all in, but you got to make sure Nikki's all in.
Correct.
Because Nikki's got to be involved in this, because if we don't have the most important person in your life there,
that's right,
it doesn't mean anything. That race doesn't mean anything. So we got to make sure. And then I come back, hey, she's on board. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the creativity of your plan then. And this is what I loved about it, is he still PR'd by an hour. He had 100-mile bike ride. Mm-hmm. 110, I think it was, you and McLean.
Yeah, something like that.
But there were a lot of, hey, I can't do 90. I could do 40 in the morning, maybe 30 in the afternoon. And so we were doing them. Hey, you're going to do
the broken volume up.
Correct. Yeah. You're going to do 20 miles or 25 on Tuesday. But if you have more time, put a 40 in there. Mm-hmm. We were trying to get the same amount of mileage that we were prescribed, but just it was looking different.
Yeah.
It wasn't the traditional go sit for 6 hours and ride, because we couldn't at that time.
That takes me right back to the point I made earlier, where the coaches can figure that out and work with an athlete to make it happen. There will be a point in time where coach will have the athlete conversation about, okay, what is our goal? What's our expectation of how the training blocks went to the goal? If they match, you're good to go. If they're off by a little bit, just be realistic with yourself that, that PR time may not happen if that's how you had to live your life. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's 100% okay. You're balancing all these things: work, family, wife, children, all these different things. And you're still going to have fun. You're still going to have, the medal looks the same.
Yep.
The euphoria of the finish is the same. And then you get to live to fight another day too, versus scorched earth with the family, causing problems. You're one and done. You are selling the bike. You're selling your bow, your bike. You're not allowed to go to the woods. You're not allowed to leave the house. You're not allowed to do anything anymore, because you kind of ruined it, right? So don't ruin. And I'm talking to Nick, but I'm also talking to the listeners as well.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Don't ruin it over this, right? Live to fight another day. There's more out there for you. There's the next race or the same race or, whatever that is. So that's definitely important for everyone to listen to and understand. It's just one of those balance things. Kenny and I's mantra back in the day when we were, heavy racing 3-4 races a year was, this is not our W-2.
Correct.
It was not our W-2 to race. it made us better at our W-2 job and better at, being more focused on family when we weren't training. And we always had the buy-in of the spouse and everybody around us. That was my story was, hey, I'm going to Lake Placid with Kenny, going to be able to get on-site registration on Monday after the race. What do you think? She's like, I already thought you were signing up, so you're good. I'm like, are you sure? Because it's like 8, some Saturdays are going to be like 8-9 hours. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. You're better when you do this. You're better if you're, involved in that. And so my wife, for sure, she's been on the podcast and talked about it, knows that I'm better if I'm involved in those things. If I'm, if she feels like if she's standing in the way of it, that's going to be kind of a negative in the relationship. Also, I'm a piece of junk if I'm just sitting still, right? So I'm not helpful to anybody then.
That's right.
So, good stuff.
Yeah. And it was great. Like, cause then you came back so you did a 4 flat and you ran, like Lauren said, run mad in Pittsburgh. Then you did, was it 4:32, 4:38, 4:40? What was your marathon time this past year?
3:40.
Yeah. Hit a 20-minute PR. And then he comes back, and I think clean was a 4:30 to like a 3:48 or 3:50.
Yeah.
He was like a 40-minute PR, and now he's racing with purpose. So it was so cool watching these two line up. Penn State, they finished together. Like, it's such a cool story. Like, and that's why it's so endearing to me, because I get it. I understand it. I had Murph. We've raced together.
Sure.
We've our tribe that we built. Now you have Timmy in there. Like, it's going to be something where you guys will have like a bond that no one else could ever separate that bond, because you went through the flood in Maryland together. Sarge billed McLean for that shirt, and McLean billed you for 3 slices of pizza.
So one of the best moments I've ever had, or always do have, when I'm on the race course, is when I see another athlete, right? See Kenny coming by, or crossing on the bike or something like that. It's just good to see he's upright and doing well. He sees I'm doing okay. Yeah, and he's told me the same thing. Like, I didn't know where you were, because you don't know. You're in deprivation mode when you're on the bike. Yeah, you're in the race. You're not getting any comms. You can't figure it out. It's always the one question that Kenny asks: where's everybody at? If we're spectating for him and he's racing, where's everybody? Is everybody okay?
Just want to know.
Yeah, just want to know.
I don't care if they pass me. I just want to know.
Yeah, everybody's good. They're they're doing their thing, or this or that.
The one bad time is I'm in with Murph and Placid, and they weren't telling me he wasn't good. He got pulled from heat exhaustion on the bike. About mile 70 or 80, and I get it at like mile 13 or 14 on the run. I think Say broke it. Like, hey, Murph was pulled, and I said to Sarge, what the heck happened? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, he got pulled. We didn't want to tell you, and that bothered me and upset me, and emotionally, you're already to the nth degree. I'm crying, and some fans like, it's not that bad, quit crying. I'm like to your point, I'm fighting right now. Right. We're fighting right now.
I'm going to fight you.
If I'm not going to get disqualified, we're fighting.
Yeah.
But those are moments that you really cherish, right?
They are.
Training with your buddy McLean and all this.
And when you find your ride or die guys, and those guys that match your crazy, and the guys that you call and you say, hey, let's do this race. Sure, I'm in. I
let me get my shovel.
I jokingly sent a text and was like, hey, registration for Panama is still open in November. And he goes, I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes. I was kind of kidding. But then I was thinking, oh, wait a second, should we do this?
Back in.
Yeah. Now
should we do this?
Hey, you had that week off. I actually need you to put stuff in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that, those things that you have with your close, ride or dies in the sport is really something special. And it also pushes you a little bit more, because if you unpack Maryland, I got out of the swim before McLean, and then he worked his ass off to catch me on the bike.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I could see his miles per hour.
He caught me. I sat in the penalty tent like an a-hole for 5 minutes, and maybe around mile 65, I just hear somebody come up to me and yell, "Blue card!" And it's McLean, just messing with me.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Dude, I worked my ass off to catch you." And he's like, I got to pee. Will you wait for me? And I go, no, dude, I'm not waiting. He goes, dude, seriously? And I was like, no. I was like, you'll catch me again. You're a better biker. Like, you'll catch me again. So he catches up to me again. We start the run. I started before him. He's kind of like a diva. He's gonna
get all glammed up before he goes out.
He's like, I got to change. He did like 6 wardrobe changes. I'm like, dude. So
he looked so good in his new. He had the new tri-suit on.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Marlowe.
He did. And I know that if I wasn't ahead of him on the bike, he probably wouldn't have pushed that hard and got the time that he did. And I know that if he wasn't behind me on the run, I wouldn't have stayed that consistent to push that hard like I did.
Yeah.
So you guys, you love each other. You want,
sure.
But there is that level of, hey, yeah, you're pushing me. You're making me better. You're
just like Coach Lawrence said, he's not your friend on that.
Correct.
It's iron sharpens iron, though.
That's right.
It's what we talked about with the young guns and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, your tri-suit that day, tell me about that. Because you have a Victory tri-suit.
Yeah.
You have the stars and stripes, but this one was almost like a cartoon.
Yeah. It was made to be like superheroes. So our neighbors, loose term, their family, really. Mm-hmm. They have 3 boys, 2 twins. The one of the twins, they're 5. He was diagnosed with leukemia in summer. So to watch them go through this and watch him go through that, like it's just been, it's taxing. Like that's hard for to see anybody go through that. And so I got the
it also changes now because you're a father too.
Correct. Yeah. You can't even imagine. And I got the inspiration from Hayden from Liv's Promise tri-suit that he made. So I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a great idea. Like I'd love to do this race with him, part of me that day. So I did. And turned out great. And then the most significant part about it was the button that I had on there. That power. It said power. I don't know if you can see from the pictures, but
you definitely could, because there's several that I at least posted where you were touching up by your chest.
Yeah. So when kids are going through cancer treatment, instead of jabbing them with a needle every time they go for infusions, they put a port in their chest, and so he calls that his button, and more specifically his Ironman button, like the Marvel character. So I'm like, wow, like tons of meaning. So like the whole time I'm hitting that button, you looking down, and just this race had so much more meaning to it this time around.
It definitely does.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And I think you're just really doing it the right way, man. You've encompassed the fact that it's given you something. It's given you a lot.
Yeah. Totally.
And you're using it. Not only have it's giving you a whole new world, but you've brought your best friend in. Uh-huh. You're racing for others now. So you're realizing that if I'm going to wreck my body, I'm going to bring attention to something.
You're going to pay it forward in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So
and Nikki goes nuts too.
I
wasn't sure if she was going to like it, because you and Nikki are cut from the same mold. Like I'm not sure which one's the bigger knucklehead, you or her. Like, their kid,
competition.
Their baby girl, beautiful. Yep. She's gorgeous. And she had a shirt on that said, "My parents are jagoffs." Yeah.
That's her onesie.
It was her onesie. It was like their family vacation, and she's in the back. I said, "Whoa, Nick, does she really have my parents are jagoffs?" And she goes, "Absolutely does."
Oh yeah.
We got a family text. There's like 12 or 13 of us in there, and it's called the Jagoffs.
Oh, it's the best.
So yeah, but the special part about this, so I just crossed the finish line, and dude, it's hard to talk about, honestly. But this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, finish line." He's like, "Your spirit spoke to me when you were running. I saw you in that tri-suit." He's like, "Is your name Cam?" And I was like, "No, it's Nick." He's like, "My son's name's Camden." And he's like, short for Camden. He's like, but most people think that it's short for Cameron. And I was like, no, the Cam that I'm racing, his name's Camden too. So he told me the backstory, or I told him the backstory, and he's like, Cam's going to be okay. He pulls out a rosary, and he's like, yeah.
Wow.
That's hard.
Yeah. Tough.
You see those things, man.
Sure.
Like you see them on the course. That we were racing just a random 13.1 in like Scottsdale. Well, the Scottsdale or wherever it was, George. Yeah. This guy, it was for
Blairsville.
Yeah, Blairsville. It was for autism.
Autism. His son's autistic.
And they hired us to be sweepers. So we're just playing around. We're the last ones to finish. And we come along this guy, George. He said, "Man, I wanted to quit so bad. And I'm out here because my kid has autism." And the people that this brings into your life, and you sit there and you think, whew, like here's me, who I think I'm out here just making sure somebody finishes. And I guess it's that thing, like, don't read somebody's book. Like, don't already assume you know the book without reading the pages.
Everybody's got a story.
Everyone's got a story, man. And if you're willing to be present, and I think that's what the endurance world does. It makes you so present.
Yeah, it does.
The Nick Zotis that used to maybe not have even would have noticed things were going around them. But you're so much more aware because you're a dad now. You're a good husband. You're a great friend. You're an athlete.
Yeah.
And like your parents should be bragging about you.
Yeah.
Maybe not about the Ironman finish, just the guy that you are. And I think that's part of their brag is that.
Is what you're doing for others, how you're paying it forward. You know, that's always, I mean, we see George all the time now at races, and he remembers us and he knows us because we were there for him in that moment. And, you know, we encourage him as much as we possibly can. You know, God knows what he has to deal with when he's, you know, trying to help his son, you know, get through life and to, you know, have it or to need the outlet of running for George is pretty important for you and Camden and the family there. That's an incredible thing that you did for them, and you got paid forward a little bit with that story you just told us, right?
I mean, he was telling me, like, you know, because I had food. I'm like, I'm ready to eat. I'm all emotional. I finished. Dude's stranger's giving me a hug, telling me he's going to put him on his prayer chain, and then he's telling me about, like, hey, you know, the first marathon I ran. Was somebody close to him. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And so they did this fundraiser for her, and it was a marathon. And he's like, all she wanted to do was come to the race. He's like, so we brought her to the race. We all got down on one knee, you know, said a prayer. And then 4 months later, she was cancer free. And, when we got back that night, I wasn't even thinking anything about it. It was the car ride home. I was like, holy shit, that just happened.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not God's work, I don't know what is.
That's right.
And it's, being present. Because those things happen all the time. I mean, just opportunity or whatever is all around you. But until you're focused on accepting that, you're never going to see it.
No, exactly. And I think that, you know, something that Kenny always has brought to Victory and to the team and to any place that he goes is he brings that sense of spirituality to it, in that, you know, when we huddle up and we circle up and either we clasp hands or we're, you know, shoulder to shoulder with everybody, that's powerful for all of us in that circle. And even people around us, strangers, ask if they can join it. So to that point, it's attracting that spirit is attracting other people to the event, to the battle that we're all about to go through in a race, to the team, and to, you know, just being open to those types of things because it happens all the time.
Do you remember when we bell rang at IGA?
Sure, absolutely.
And so we were really, it was all of our Wolf Pack, our triathlon company. We would just bell ring for Salvation Army. We'd raise a ton of money. Had us right here in this little town, IGA. It's closed now. And we were ringing the bell and we were singing Christmas music. We had music blasting. And this lady walked up and I said, ma'am, what song would you like us to sing when you come out? And she said, I don't really feel like singing and celebrating Christmas. I just lost my husband. And I'm like, whoa. Okay. And she went in the store and I looked at Nelson, Jeff, Coach Nelly, and I said, we got to go find her. So we went in and I said to her, I go, ma'am, I heard what you said. Can I say a prayer with you? And we prayed with her and she goes, all right, could we hear, Saint Nick or good old Saint Nick, whatever the song was. And so we're like, okay, we're on it. And I said, what was your husband's name? I want to pray for him. She goes, Kenny. And I go, and so like we rang the bell.
Chills, man.
Yeah. We rang the bell the rest of the day. And to your point, I was showering that night. I had a stand-up shower and I had my hand on because emotionally I give so much.
Yeah.
And now I am just in my own spot and I'm crying because I realized what the heck just happened.
Yeah.
You know, and
It takes a while for it to sink in.
It does. Yeah. It takes a while to reflect.
It does.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I think that's the part of, you know, the presence and understanding what you're going through and being okay knowing, hey, this workout might be tough, but Clean's doing it with me. And I just need to listen, be aware, and things are happening and things are moving. And, you know, it's not surprising me that you're finding that movement of God that's showing up in weird places that you never probably would have even realized. And he's been there all your life. But now you're very much more aware of the fact because you're okay in your own spirit. You're in your own
Absolutely.
body.
It's pretty cool. And, we've seen it many times ourselves. And for you to just bring that up, we didn't even know you were going to bring that up today.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that story.
Absolutely.
It's
Powerful.
awesome. So we got you through now Maryland. What's going on now with you, Nick? Where you headed next, right? You just going to do like 5Ks? Oh, no, it's 50 miles. Okay,
yeah.
what's that? Tell us about that
I've
race.
always wanted to do an ultra because like the run, I love the run. And, going back to McLean, he's getting married in May and he's like, hey, I want to do something epic for my bachelor party. I was like, well, let's do an ultra. And he's like, all right, I'm in. And so
the guy that doesn't really like the run.
Yeah,
he's all in
right,
though, because
right.
you're there with him.
So me, him, and our buddy Timmy there's a lot of guys going out to Arizona, but specifically us three are going to do the ultra, the 50 miler. So
It's going to be great.
Yeah, Elephant Mountain. Excited. It's like in Scottsdale.
But what month?
February 1st.
You're doing that in February.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So it'll be a good time to get out there.
Dude, he's all, and he might do an Ironman this year yet. So
And then those sign up links keep coming to your inbox, and you just might click on one of these times.
That's right. That's right,
dude. Listen,
last chance to sign up from Ironman.
Sarge, the stuff I deal with him, this is like a random Saturday. I get a message. It's a video. And he's running. He's like, hey, man, great run. Was off a little bit last night, but I'm going to get through it. And then I get another one in the car. Hey, I had to clip it short. What would you do in this situation? I crap my pants. Like, assuming I've already done it. Like, hey, how did you handle this when you did it?
Right.
I know he's done it.
And he's like, I'm just going to fight through it. And I'm thinking, no, you might want to just go home and clip it.
Yeah.
But it leads into that. And then, hey, when you ride, how many Zens do you put in? Like, it's just like when the one time you did get in trouble was when you ran with Leek.
Yeah.
And Lauren's like, hey, do an easy run. Leek's got him like sub sixes. And he's like, yeah,
six Zens in his cheek.
It was go time from the jump.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, we'll do 8 miles. He's like, we'll go 4 down, 4 back. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm looking at my watch. Yeah, it's like 7s, low 7s, high 6s. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, we're going on a run. I'm like, dude, this isn't my cruise pace, man. Like,
Dude, he's a beast though, isn't he?
He's a beast.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a monster.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, hey, we really appreciate you coming on the
that was great. Thanks for
podcast,
having me,
walking
guys.
us through from your, not wanting to be in organized sports and told what to do to having a coach that tells you what to do and you not doing it anyhow, but still fun stuff in progressing from running into triathlon, into a couple full Ironman now, and how you're paying it forward with bringing friends along with you. And the stories you're telling us about what you're doing for, raising awareness for leukemia and other things in the world makes the whole thing worthwhile.
Yeah.
How your family's doing and how they're wrapped around you in a supportive way. Awesome story. So thanks for coming on the podcast and sharing with us today.
If you had one thought for that athlete that's coming on board that doesn't know that they have time, or what would that be?
Do you want the intense Nick to tell him?
I want the Nick that what you've endured.
Yeah, I would say, you can make time for it. If it's important enough, just like anything in life, you'll compartmentalize it. You'll find time. You'll move things around. You'll figure it out. And when you do, I promise you will not be disappointed because it will change you.
Awesome advice. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Nick. Thanks again. Yeah. Thanks to our sponsors, Project One, Trek Cycle, and Nike and Tony's. We appreciate all of you and appreciate all the listeners. You've been listening to the Victory Multisport podcast. We'll talk to everybody very soon.